Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Advancing Consciousness podcast with Franco Di Nicola. And today is episode 26, and we're going to look at the difference between spirit and soul. Sometimes there's a bit of a confusion, and I know that question came up, so I felt that it was time to address it. So stay tuned as we play with the whole idea, the difference between spirit and soul. Okay, welcome back. So let's play. Let's play with understanding what is the difference between spirit and soul. And some people say, well, isn't the soul part of the spirit? Yes, absolutely it is. And what is the spirit in the first place? Well, the spirit is the aspect of source that is in creation mode. Okay, so to understand it, there is source. Source is the essence of all existence. Source is also known as the field of consciousness. It is the energy, the life force of existence. We are all part and parcel of this source. There's nothing outside of that source. We are within it. We're never separated from it. We're part of it. Not only are we part of it, we are an integral part of its, not only its existence, but its advancement. And yes, I didn't say that incorrectly. Advancement. So here's source, this very essence of all existence. It's a collective of consciousness, full spectrum beingness. And it decided at one point or another to expand itself. And to be able to do that, it will have to create some sort of playground, self-creation to be able to put its skill sets to the test. Not only to the test, but how to utilize it to become a grander aspect. So it decided to split itself. Now, when I say split itself, it's still all part of the field, but part of that field, half of that field, and even that is not the right words to use, but half of that field of sourceness became spirit. So spirit is source in creation. Spirit is the actual energy and the applied consciousness of creation, and its creation, meaning that it creates and it's its own creation and its own observation of creation, and at the same time expanding within its creation. So source itself in the non-spirit, which is still part of everything, is the field where the spirit within, which is the source, goes out and create. And that's how we have created ourselves. And that's how universes, galaxies, solar systems, planets, forms, and different soul aspects were created. Now, what's a soul? Soul is a spirit. It's a spirit that records and utilizes its progress to create and to be involved in other levels of creation. Now, from the very beginning, what spirit done or did was to create many, many different aspects of itself as an experiencer. All holographic, all using consciousness, all using spectrums of light and creating variances within those spectrums of light to create what looks like form, what looks like planets or playgrounds or anything of that nature. So it started very elementarily to create limited expressions. And then as it continued to experience, evolve, and expand, it kept creating more and more. This is what we call the great expansion, that source expands. The expansion is more and more of its aspects would create more and more of its playgrounds, would fragment itself further and further, with the realization that not to create all the same, but to create always various different spectrums with different creators, different recordings of those creations, different capacities to evolve within those creations. But to make that much more effective and to create that variance, it created signatures. So the signatures were very specific codes and very specific frequency band, so that it would create what we can call realities or forms or whatever it is, with a difference in its expression abilities. Now, those expressions of abilities were not restricted in any way, shape, or form by just its encodement. Those encodements would continue to expand. Each and every experience would become much more expansive and be able to create even further. This is why it has the facet of learning within its experience, and to create and carry what we call sort of an akashic record, or in this case, a memory of each and every incarnation. Now, the original souls that were created, that continued to fragment it, they fragmented and then created over souls and soul families. And then it continued to go to one point or another where they decided to create a replica, or in this case, identical signatures, which we call twin souls. And those twin souls to go out and have various different experiences without the restrictions of saying both doing exactly the same and being on the same playground. That was not something that it entertained. So at this point in time, this is what's happened. So to further understand it, the playgrounds are also sentient beings. They're basically still spirit. It has a memory component. It has an evolutionary advancement, enlightening process. It is alive. It is part of Source. It is also at the same time working in a co-creation with each of the different expressions. Now, these expressions also take form as plant life. It also takes form as the insect world, the animal kingdom, the oceanic kingdom. We're talking about the birds, the reptiles, and so forth. All of those are all sentient beings. They're all aspects of Source, Spirit, life form. All of it sharing, all of it learning, all of it evolving. Now, here we are, this what we call form, that's related back to planet Earth and us being here. Here we are as form, and we have quite an interesting makeup that is this representation of this unit we call ourselves and that we are experiencing. So again, let's bring the soul into the mix here. But before we do so, let's take it. Here we are on a planet. On this planet, we create physical forms. As much as we know that we are a match of a mother and a father's genetics and life force and spirit coming together, creating a new life form, it's still an extension of not only the family being mother and father, but it's an extension of Gaia, which we all are of that extension. So the physical form is the life force, which we call Gaia, the planet Earth. Now, of course, it has a specific signature to a certain degree, which continues to be encoded each and every time other aspects merge with it. So here's this physical form. Now we have the one level of soul, which is an earthbound soul. What does that mean? That means the soul was constructed as recorders and experiencers that actually evolve and expand also, that focus on only incarnating on planet Earth. It never leaves planet Earth. It either is in the collective soul, or it's going into what looks like a very specific signature of an individualized expression in a physical form. So here we have a Gaia avatar vehicle. Okay? So the avatar is the physical form, which is a Gaia expression with its enriched experience. The soul, which we call the human entity, and the reason we call it the human entity, because the main focus, the main memory, the main experiences it has is all human based, so that it continues to evolve the human experience. So Gaia's physicality is expanding, so is the human soul, or the soul, which we call the human entity. The second soul we have is a multidimensional soul. That soul will incarnate on different planets, may choose to be in non-form and participate with other souls that incarnate. We are coming from groups and clusters we call soul families. Within the soul family, we have a nucleus, which is the oversoul, which is the combination of all of the soul's inputs of experiences, evolutionary understanding, and so forth. Now, that multi-dimensional soul will incarnate on different planets, and the ones that are here have chosen to incarnate in these physicalities. So here we have a physicality which we are familiar with, especially if you're listening to this because you're in one. You're in this physicality, which is the extension and expression of Gaia spirit, the spirit of Gaia. We also have the consciousness and the knowing of the soul we call the human entity, which is the combination of experiences and chain experiences from having multiple human experience with a multidimensional soul. Now, as the physical form expresses and it grows in its consciousness and its capacities, the physicalities evolve. The human entity with each an incarnation, and also the connection with other incarnations as the cluster of souls that exist on the planet, are gaining skill sets, are gaining wisdom, are gaining expanded viewpoints. Now, some of the viewpoints is from all the incarnation, but the other level of expanded viewpoints is also because it has a multi-dimensional soul that is coming in, that is bringing experience in different forms on different planets, on different dimensions, and different states of being. So that makes up the three unification that creates what we call the human experience. But we utilize the mind or the brain, like we like to call it, the left brain and the right brain are the facets that take all three resources and works in alignment to create this expression that we see ourselves in human form, which is the part of us here playing on this playground, to understand that more fully. Now, as these souls that are coming that are multidimensional, and because of the unification and the exchanging and the elaborate expressions and experiences that it has, Gaia is evolving, or in this case, the body is evolving, and it's evolving Gaia. It's evolving the human entity, which is the earthbound soul, and it's also expanding the mind's capacity, because the mind is necessary to construct what we see around us as real, as solid, as the playground, because everything is a holographic expression that requires the mind to be able to take those codes and make it look like it's real. So, with that understanding that here we are. Now, to understand that the right brain takes all of the different inputs. Now, we also have the third eye, which also is receiving information from other souls, from other dimensions, from also other souls that are on the planet here right now to exchange within itself. Plus, our soul is also exchanging with our twin soul, our oversoul, which is made up of 24 souls, but in your case, being one soul, and then your twin soul is the second one, and then 22 other souls. And then that's the first level of family and so forth. All of that is coming in. Your right brain processes it all, decides how to utilize it, and then transmits it over to the left brain, which will take all the field energy and creates field information, consciousness, and so forth, and creates what we see ourselves as an expression of this playground that looks very solid, very sensorially enriched, and with the capacities to be able to experience ourselves to whatever degree we feel we want to experience. Now, what we choose to experience is a combination of what the body wants to experience, what the human entity wants to experience, and what the soul or multidimensional soul wants to experience. So the soul is spirit, the human entity is spirit, the body is spirit, the planet is spirit, everything is spirit. Everything that is spirit is still source. It is source, source in creation. So that's the difference. So when we're saying we're accessing spirit, we're accessing the core foundational creator aspect of ourselves, which is the very makeup, and it is the very part that gives our capacity for us to be experiencing what we're experiencing. From that perspective, there is no right, wrong, good, bad, or anything of that nature, but it also creates beautiful, elaborate expressions and experiences to play in whatever dynamics it chooses to advance all aspects of itself. Every playground is unique. Every physicality is unique. Every expression of souls are unique. Every expression of entities, which are entities from other realms and entities at this point in time that's also on the planet. Now, sometimes people talk about entity as something negative. Well, some do take a negative role. Not that anything is really negative or positive. Everything is 0-point neutrality, whatever it is, but it can take on a negative or positive role while we're still playing in the polarity world. Even though the polarity world is fading away right now, even though it has already been unplugged, we are still unraveling ourselves from that game that we've played for so long. So we're basically now reconnecting with ourselves. So the difference between the two really is the soul is spirit with a specific signature, that sole purpose of taking on form, playing on different dimensions and playgrounds, to utilize all other creations, to experience advancements in its uniqueness, and to advance the whole, which is the whole spirit and source itself. So that's the difference that's there. It is different in the way it's experienced, but it's the same for what it is. Everything is source. The source part that decided to create and experience and evolve, that supports all of it, is spirit. And we are spirit in action, spirit in creation, spirit in the creative state, observer state, and the enlightenment state. Please realize that when you are going through this process, that what we are experiencing, life, we are always constantly evolving, we're expanding, and we're giving ourselves the opportunity to achieve grander aspects of ourselves. Now, to understand even the next step is that when we are going through this journey, as much as we are remembering more of who we are, all we are doing is advancing our state and the elaborateness of our creation, so that we can even achieve higher levels of awareness, higher levels of enlightenment, and becoming even a grander aspect of our sourceness that we are. Hopefully, this provides you the clarity to understand the difference between spirit and soul. It is all the same, but taking on unique roles. And those unique roles make up the whole, advances the whole, and there's nothing separate from the whole because that is not possible. Without spirit, there's no expression, experience, life, or anything of that nature. Without source, there is no spirit. And it is one and the same, as much as we are one and the same. So, hopefully that clarifies things, and you have the opportunity to let that expand within you and to go out and play with that higher level of realization so that you feel freer to be the beautiful expression that you are as the spirit you are with your own particular uniqueness. If this work, what is shared, resonates for you, we welcome your support, financial support, to be able for us to put more and more of this content. If you choose to support us, there is a link in the description where you can contribute. We also have a link to the website, and within the website or even the other link, you can register for the newsletter to get notifications of upcoming workshops and so forth. We also have in the description a link that will take you to all the workshops that we recently have done, all of it to assist you on your journey and to expedite the journey with more ease and expansion at the same time. So until next time, go out and play. Have an amazing experience.